I'm really excited about Chuck's presentation today. Chuck is the Director of Business Development and Software, and he's also a software consultant for Marcom LLP. Chuck is also an author, a blogger, and a speaker. He speaks to audiences that are seeking motivation while struggling through life challenges, including loss of employment and job seeking. Chuck shares his personal challenges and experiences in his book, He's Been Where You Are, and he offers a lot of inspiration and motivation that will help you during your job search. His book is called Chuck's Lemonade, a recipe for inspired thinking and living. And again, Chuck will share his personal experience that may resonate with your own. And let's go ahead and welcome Scott. I'm sorry, Chuck.
No, James, that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks, Shannon. Can you guys hear me okay?
Could you turn up your speaker a bit?
How is that? Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, thank you.
All right, wonderful. So I'm going to minimize this and so I can everyone see the presentation as well?
Not yet.
Should be a screen that says it's what you do next that matters most. Chuck's Lemonade.
Not yet.
No.
All right, hold on a second. Thought I had shared it.
1 moment. Paul, are you saying to hold on for a moment?
No.
He can move forward? Okay, thank you, Chuck.
Okay, how about
Got
that?
it. We got it.
All right, perfect. All right, well, everyone, I want to thank you very much. As James said, my goal today is to inspire you through the challenges that you're going through, perhaps in your job search. There's a line in my book that says, life doesn't always go as you planned or as you wished. That's life. It's what you do next that matters most. And we're going to talk about that last line the most during this presentation. Again, it's inspiration and motivation for your life and your job search. So here's a question I want everyone to think about for a moment. What do you do when life gives you lemons? Right? You've all heard that saying, right? When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And if you look at the picture on the right, you'll notice that there are two paths. So think about this for a second, right? What do you do when life gives you lemons? Well, maybe you're looking for a job. Maybe you lost your job and it had nothing to do with anything you did wrong, such as the pandemic that we've all been through. Maybe you were like me and your business partner lied to you and stole from you and caused the abrupt end of the business that you worked so hard to develop, and you found yourself unemployed for the first time in 30 years. Or maybe, like me, you also found yourself looking for a job at the tail end of your career, right? When your best, if you will, years might have been behind you. So life does give us lemons. And as that picture on the right portrays, you always have a choice of two paths. One path is the negative path, and one path is the positive path. The negative path kind of sounds like, woe is me, and why me? And why does this always happen to me? And I get it, I've been there, I understand. The other path, the positive path, and the path that I've learned hard through my life to walk down more often and most often now, is a path that sounds a whole lot different. A path that sounds maybe grateful, and a path that sounds maybe graceful. And we're going to talk about the word graceful later. And a path that's full of better habits than going down that negative path. So when I say I get it, I've been there too, I mean it. That's a younger version of me at Launchpad Job Club 5 years ago, right? Yeah, a 5-year younger version of me right there. I had met Shannon and I was looking for a job after the abrupt ending to my business and being unemployed for the first time in 30 years, living in Austin. And I had told Shannon, I'm struggling through this like all of us do, but I've been working on these habits, and I really want to share them with everybody. Little did I know that 5 years later, I'd be sitting here talking to you, and I am employed today, but I've written 2 books, and life has changed in ways that I can't even describe, and I'm going to tell you more about that. So, but just want to take you quick through what we're going to talk about here today, right? Who am I and why are you listening to me? We're going to talk about that line. Life doesn't always go as you planned or as you wished. That's life. It's what you do next that matters most. I'm going to take you down a stroll down what I call memory lane. And then I'm going to do a reminder about it's what you do next that matters most. And then we're going to talk a little bit about those habits. First we make our habits, and then our habits make us. And then I'm going to share with you the ingredients in Chuck's lemonade. They're found inside the word habits. So a little bit about me, as James said, I have over 35 years of successful business ownership, business leadership, senior level sales and strategic business development experience. And that's all really good stuff. But like you, I found myself without a job in 2017, and I attended the job club that you're all attending right now. So again, I continue to want to stress, I get it. I've been there. I understand. And I'm also going to share and do this through the chat, and we'll talk more about how to contact me. I'd love to become a resource for you. So please feel free to use me as a resource. As James said, I've written a book. I've actually written a couple of books, but the first book is Chuck's Lemonade, a recipe for inspired thinking and living. It's essentially the story of my life, from my early days in childhood all the way through the almost 58-year-old that I am today. I published it 2 years ago. It's full of real life stories and challenges and struggles I went through, and I didn't really understand how to deal with it early on. So I talk about that, and then I talk about taking ownership of it and changing my life. And it's a very, very easy read. Each chapter is maybe 1 to 3 pages, very short stories for thinking better and living better. I've also written a book called Huxley the Aquarius, One Dog's Lemonade Story. And that's a children's version, if you will, of the book. Wonderful pictures. It's written, really my intent was for adults to read it to children and foster good communication between adults and children. It's told in the dog's voice. It's a wonderful book for kids. And I'm also the author of a blog, which is named Chuck's Lemonade. I share that via Facebook every day. I share it via email every day. I proudly tell you that I have never missed a day since I began 6 years ago. I share an inspirational story and message every morning, and I'm going to encourage you to all sign up for my blog, and I'm going to tell you how to do that a little bit later. Interestingly, today my message, and it's going to sound funny when I say this, my message was don't let the, and now I forget the exact words, but don't allow the devil to take up room in your backpack. And what I meant by that, it was inspired by a song, No Diablo, that I happen to like, by a band called Humphreys McGee. But don't allow the devil to take up room in your backpack. Don't allow those negative thoughts and chaos and drama and anxiety to take over, because it's not going to look very good, number one, and it's not going to get you very where, number two, right? Maintaining that positive attitude is really, really the key. We're going to talk a lot more about that. So life doesn't always go as you planned or as you wished. You remember I shared that date, June in 2017. I was at Launchpad Job Club. And just a few months later, my wife and I chose to come to Hilton Head Island for a vacation. It was a place that we had dreamed about someday retiring to. And we were still in the throes of what we were going through from that time when my business failed and found myself unemployed. My wife was also employed in the same business, so we both were without jobs. And just before this date, December 31st, 2017, my wife found some work finally in Austin, Texas with a home builder. But we decided to take a trip to Hilton Head for our anniversary. Our anniversary is New Year's Eve. So it's impossible to forget, right? Great date, New Year's Eve. And we visited Hilton Head Island and we took a walk on the beach. And it was a little chilly that day, as you can see by the picture. But anyway, we took a little wooden box with us to the beach that day. And in the little wooden box, we put a bunch of pieces of paper with our worries and our struggles and the things that we were going through and things that we wanted and hoped would change. We put all those little pieces of paper in the box and we threw the box into the ocean. Literally threw it into the ocean. And I tell you, the weight of the world seemed to go along with that box from us. We were determined to get rid of our worries and get rid of our struggles. Moments later, my wife turns to me and says, "What are we waiting for? Let's go to Hilton Head now. Let's move. Let's relocate. Why not?" And I looked at her and I said, "You know what? You're right. That employer that home builder in Austin, I didn't tell you, had an office on Hilton Head Island. She put in a phone call and guess what? There was an opening for her." A couple of months later, and I'm going to share a little bit about that. We made that move to Hilton Head Island and we live here now 10 years earlier than ever planned. And life is going wonderfully in ways I can't even tell you. So really the lesson here is life doesn't always go as you planned or as you wish. That is life, right? It's what you do next that matters most. And I'm going to share more about what we did in those couple of years that has just made my life truly amazing, the life of my dreams. So now I want to take you for a little stroll down something I call memory lane. I imagine everyone remembers that day, 9/11/2001. I can't imagine anyone doesn't remember that. But I want you to think about September 12th, 2001. I was living and working in New York and in Manhattan. I was only a few miles away when that terrible day occurred, just a few miles from those buildings. The day after, September 12th, 2001, I met with my networking group, a group of individuals that I belong to, a business-to-business networking group. And we met on Tuesdays. I believe that was a Monday, 9/11, and we met on Tuesday. And that morning, only about 6 of us out of the 30 or 40 showed up. And the 6 of us sat there and we stunned. What had just happened? Everything was upside down. We were really in the middle of it because of where we lived and where we worked. No one was thinking about work those days, and certainly no one was thinking about buying anything right after that. But the 6 or so of us looked at each other and said, "What are we going to do?" And we came up with an idea to lean on each other in ways that we already leaned on each other. We were networking with each other, business to business networking, learning about what each other did and helping each other get introductions for business. But now it became serious. And we really started to lean on each other. Something that James mentioned before about networking. And guess what? We all made it through it. And we built deeper and better relationships. We all survived that. And I survived it in ways and with new business I couldn't have imagined that day. So, as James said before, the next great opportunity might be sitting right next to you and in your network. Lean on your network, grow a network. As James mentioned about SWAT, I believe in it immensely. Another similar story, March 16th, 2020, if you will, the day before the great lockdown, the great COVID lockdown. I was employed. living here on Hilton Head Island, where I live today, and work from home for one of the largest accounting firms in the country, a truly wonderful opportunity. And I'll tell you more about how that happened. But anyway, it's the day before, if you will, this lockdown that people are talking about. And I am in Hilton Head Airport and getting ready to get on an airplane where I'm going to go up in the New England region and work for a couple of days. And my phone rings and it's one of my colleagues. And she says, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm actually getting ready to board a plane." She said, "Do not board that plane. We just got the message. Everything is shutting down. No more traveling until we're told." And I was stunned. She said, go home, go work from home. I'll be in touch." I got off the line. I went back home. I called the person that I report to. His name is Joe. And I said, "Joe, what's going on?" And we talked about it. And I said the word something like, "What are we going to do? What are we going to do now? I can't imagine anyone in the world is going to want to talk about buying anything from us or doing business." And he said, "Chuck, and I knew the answer was to just get through it. But he said, Chuck, he goes, your network and the folks that you talk to every single day," he says, "I know that right now businesses are going to need answers. We're a large respected accounting firm. We're going to start sharing thought leadership. And I want you to reach out to your network and I want you to see if we can convince them that rather than talking to anybody for the next couple of months about buying anything from them, rather, let's talk to them about how do they keep their businesses going and how do we teach and train them how to get through this from an accounting firm's perspective. Things like this PPP loan that was being talked about, and employee retention tax credits, and information that business owners really needed to hear to just stay in business." So I did it. I reached out to my best network, and I will tell you that within a couple of months, I generated about 500 new prospects. Unbelievable. It happened again. I leaned on my network in a dire, stressful time, and I received exactly what I wanted. And then this picture again, right? Sitting there at the job club, not knowing what was going to happen next, talking that day about my network. Well, guess what? I went back home after that and I made a phone call into someone in my network right in Austin. And then I told him what was going on and I told him what I was hoping for and looking for. And he said, "Chuck, I have someone to introduce you to." And that led to approximately a 6-month consulting engagement and kept me funded and kept me going while I maintained my positivity. And I got to that beach that I showed you the picture about not too long ago. So all very true stories. It all happened. And I can't again stress enough what James said before about the power of your network, a power of the people that you know. And then I'll leave you with this on that topic. It's a chapter in my book. If you don't ask the question, the answer is always no. And what I mean by that is, as I said before, my wife and I packed up, we left Austin, and we moved to Hilton Head Island. She had a job, I didn't. The funny part was I was the larger earner when all of this happened, and here I am now. I'm following her. So we get to Hilton Head. This is the day we landed. That was the condo that we moved to, and she went off to work, and I got busy getting our condo set up and emptying boxes. And I made a phone call to a friend named Joe. Joe is the gentleman that I report to today at Markham. And I said, "Hey, Joe, guess what? I moved to Hilton Head." He goes, "What? I know you always wanted to, but what are you talking about?" I said, "Yeah, we did it. I moved to Hilton Head a little earlier than planned, but we did it. And he said, wow, what are you going to do? And I said, that's why I'm calling you. 2 days later, I went to work for Markham, and I've enjoyed that career working from home out of my home office where I'm sitting today on Hilton Head Island in South Carolina, living the life of my dreams. So here's the interesting takeaway. There is another chapter in my book that sometimes the best gifts don't come gift wrapped. When you think of a gift, often you may think of a box with a bow and something that you either give to someone or get from someone. But sometimes the best gifts don't come gift wrapped. I tell 4 very, very difficult stories in my book on the subject. But think about this. If my business partner had not lied to me and stole from me and caused the ending to a wonderful business that we had started together, this chapter of my life that I'm living right now, truly, truly, the chapter and life of my dreams would not have happened. Crazy, right? That tragedy and job loss and the loss of my business actually created and is allowing me to live the life of my dreams. Sometimes the best gifts don't come gift wrapped. So there's another chapter in my book named First We Make Our Habits and Then Our Habits Make Us. And I mentioned to you, talking to Shannon and asking if I could tell everybody at Launchpad what I'm doing differently to get through the challenge that I'm facing in my job search. And it really began with channeling my energy differently. I chose to wake up every day, and instead of what I'll call dealing with the typical noise that we can feel and hear when we are going through something difficult. Maybe it's running right to read your emails because you're so apprehensive, you're trying so hard. And or maybe it's listening to others whose opinions really don't matter and they're negative anyway. I chose to do something differently. I chose to wake up every day, and the first thing I did the moment I woke up, other than pouring a cup of coffee, was I chose to answer the question, what am I grateful for today? I chose to think about the good and not think about the bad. I chose to think about what I had and not about what I wished I had or what I used to have. I chose to think about the positives. And what do you think happened to the rest of my day? The other question I began answering every day is, what would make today great? Big things, little things. Some days it was just doing some laundry, and some days it was sending out a personal note to someone that I was hoping would consider me for a job. But guess what? By doing that, by writing it down, it made it conscious. It made it real. It made it intentional. And I still live both of those practices today. It's about 6 years later since that event happened. It's so different for me now, though, because it's such a habit that some of those things that I used to write, what am I grateful for? Well, those are my constants now. They have earned a spot at the top of my journal. I don't write them anymore because I know them. They're my constants. I read them every day to remind myself to never take them for granted. And I write more stuff. I write about what I did yesterday that I was grateful for and who I touched and why, and that I'm living the answers to my personal who, what, where, when, why, and how questions. Think about that. I'm living where I want, how I want, doing what I want. And it all began with changing my habits. Because first we make our habits, and then our habits make us. Something else I talk about in my book is called surrender in a good way. We think about the word surrender normally as a negative word, right? You're surrendering, you're giving up, you're giving in. In war, it's you've lost. I say surrender in a good way. Learn to live gratefully, right? It's more in what you have is far more important than what you wished you had, because focusing on what you have is going to get you in a mindset that's going to look different and sound different. As James said, right? You want to show up to those interviews in a grateful state of mind. And then I also talk about living gracefully. I mentioned this before, graceful. What I mean by that is when we can teach ourselves to expect less and accept more. I'm going to give you a great example. Rain. When it rains, most of us kind of look at it and go, oh, I can't go out. Or if I go out, I'm going to get wet. Maybe it's gloomy. Well, I live on this beautiful little island now, and I've learned to appreciate rain. When it rains, our lagoons get full, and all the critters that swim in the lagoons and fly into the lagoons, they love it. All the beautiful trees with the Spanish moss get fed, and all the beautiful flowers and wildlife grow. I love rain, right? I didn't always love rain, and I know it's hard to love rain, but that's what I mean by living gracefully, right? Expect less and accept more, and you might have quite a bit more to be grateful for. And then surrender in a good way to habits. So I promised you I was going to share with you the ingredients in Chuck's lemonade, and they are found inside of the word habits. The H is for honesty. Live honestly with yourself and others. It's really simple. Live honestly. Acceptance. Accept what you can't change, but change what you can't accept, right? You're looking for a job now. I get it. It stinks, right? But once we accept it and we stopped fretting and stressing and then changing what we can accept, whether that's your habits or anything else about you that could use a positive change. And that might be the people that you associate with who drag you down and are negative, or building a better network, whatever. Change what you can't accept. The B is for beach, as in find your beach, with beach in quotes. Your beach is any space and any place you visit so that you can think better. It might be just some quiet time alone, taking a walk anywhere. It might be reading a book for a while just to calm your mind. Or for me, it's my beach. I live on a beach. So find your beach. Inspiration. Find inspiration. Live inspired and be inspiring. Inspiration breeds inspiration. Negativity breeds negativity. I suggest you find inspiration in wherever and whatever you do. The T is for trust, as in trust your gut. Your gut never lies to you. Your mind will play tricks on you and might even lie to you, but your gut never does. Trust your gut, listen to it. And the S is for service. Love and serve yourself and others. And notice I said yourself in there. You have to love and serve and treat yourself well, especially when you're going through rough times and hard times. Be kind to yourself. Love yourself. When you love and serve yourself, you have much more to love and serve others. I know all of this because I live this, folks, every day. What I just shared with you are my habits. And since I began living those habits and in sharing these habits with others, I've seen my life change in a great way, as well as some others. I'm going to leave you with this. You never know how strong you are. In 2017, like you, I was at Launchpad. And in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, I published my book. I was determined. I wanted to. I knew this message needed to get out there, and I did it. So you never know how strong you are. I never thought I would be an author. Didn't know anything about writing a book, let alone publishing a book, and I did it. So some suggestions and a little bit more about me. If you want to know more about Chuck's Lemonade, you can visit www.chuckslemonade.com. You can email me, and here's something I'm going to share as an opportunity. If you email me and ask me to include you in my blog via email, if you email me, for all the emails I receive, I will pick a name and you will get a free signed copy of my book mailed to you. So visit, email me, chuck@chuckslemonade.com. You can also sign up for my blog on Facebook, because I publish there every day. And of course, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. And yeah, I'm living lemonade. There's my license plate, South Carolina, beautiful Hilton Head Island, and nothing could be finer. I am living the life of my dreams. I'm making lemonade. So James, Shannon, thank you for the opportunity to share my stories and hopefully spread some inspiration. I hope it was helpful.